You're all good to go.
All right, thank you, Shweta. So first of all, hello everyone. My name is Sai Pabbisetty. My full name is Sai Abhijit Pabbisetty, and I prefer to be called Sai. You guys can address me however. It's completely fine. But I'm completely glad for what the Edu for Space team is doing today. I think space education is really important for everyone to get to know, and I'd really like to thank Shweta and her team for providing almost all high schoolers this opportunity via LinkedIn and the other platforms that they have. So props to Shweta and her team. So thank you, everyone. So, in terms of my experience, the internship that I got to participate in was called the Foundation of International Space Education, or FICE for short, and it's called the Global Space School, which I'll be detailing a little bit later in this presentation. But first of all, I just wanted to introduce some context, just in case you guys wanted to be able to reach out to me in case you guys had any more questions, and just the website for where you can apply and get a lot more information about Global Space School apart from what I'll be providing you with today. So my email is on the screen, my LinkedIn profile is on the screen, and the two links are on the screen. Shweta will link this presentation in the YouTube video that she will be providing you guys with later. So you guys can get all that information later. But yeah, thank you for joining, and I'm looking forward to talking with you guys today. So just a little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Sai Pabbisetty, and I'm a senior in high school. So I have three specific areas of interest: energy and chemical engineering, research, and entrepreneurship. So starting with energy and chemical engineering, I actually come from India, and my grandparents actually live in a very small rural town that doesn't get access to a lot of resources, specifically energy. There's frequent power outages and there's frequent power cuts. So experiencing this for the good first portion of my life, I really wanted to make a change. I really wanted to give back to the community that's back in India. So alternative energy is definitely one of my focuses for the future, which is really why I want to major in chemical engineering at college. And just again, it's a really good way for me to give back to the community and stay true to the roots for where I came from. Another thing is I'm an advocate for protecting our environment and sustainability. So that's definitely one of the key values that I love to keep going in my life. And again, you'll see later in the presentation, all these values will connect back to my desire to pursue space and my desire to have applied to global space school. But in terms of research, of course, if there's going to be any innovation of an alternative energy source, um, you're going to have to do research. There's going to have to be a lot of R&D involved, and that's another reason why I love research. I see myself getting to be in a lab setting for a good portion of my life. So chemical engineering and research, they intertwine very well together. But research is definitely one of the key aspects of my life, and I look forward to getting to take part in this as well. Uh, Again, as an advocate for sustainability, I love trying to lower the effects of climate change and protecting our environment. Those are all key values. So I've actually gotten to take part in carbon capture research and develop some of my own carbon traps. So this is definitely some of the things that research has provided me with, and research is a big part of space too. So that's definitely one of the things I would recommend for all of you if you guys are going into space. Get into that research mode per se, and really start uh, doing your research and getting to be a part of the lab setting per se. And in terms of entrepreneurship, I actually imagine myself having my own energy-based startup in the future. I got to pursue entrepreneurship at iStart Valley and Tech Grove Enrichment Club. These are just a couple, Tech Grove Enrichment Club is a nonprofit that I was able to start myself. And iStart Valley is a startup incubator that allows for many startup visions to become a reality. I don't want to speak for Shweta, but I'm pretty sure Edu for Space started at iStar Valley, which is where us two met. So you can see a lot of great things come from entrepreneurship. So this is another field that I definitely advocate for. So now you guys are probably wondering, Shweta, if you could click. So you guys are wondering, how does all of this tie into space? So of course, I asked myself this question as well when I was first applying to the United Space School. And I'll actually get into the differences between United Space School and Global Space School a little bit later in the presentation. But the initial program I applied for was called the United Space School. And the reason I even tried applying to space internships with an interest for chemical engineering research and entrepreneurship is that space is a wide ranging field. It has so many applications. It has so many different fields that one can get to partake in. So one of the things that I know that space is really big and known for is alternative energy. Just look at the ISS. A lot of really the entire ISS is powered through solar energy, fuel cells, and those are all alternative energy. So I thought I would get an opportunity to explore the different alternative energy resources that are utilized in space, which is the first reason why I applied in space. But as you'll see in the later parts of this presentation, space is actually one of my biggest passions right now, and even shaped my future career goals. So I'll get into that a bit later in the presentation. But for now, this is what you guys have been waiting for, my experience within the Foundation of International Space Education Global Space School. So I'll get into that right now. So of course, for the application, there's a ton of ways to get accepted depending on the country you're from. So I'm assuming we're all from the United States. So the way we apply is through the at-large application process, which is essentially emailing the admissions@unitedspaceschool.org for an application. You had to fill out an essay, there's an interview, and there's 2 letter of recommendations, I believe, 1 or 2, I can't remember off the top of my head. But doing the at-large application process gives you a chance to attend the United Space School in Houston, Texas. But again, if you're not from the United States, the way the other countries do it is there's flight museums, there's science museums in other countries that sponsor students to go to the United Space School. So one of my friends that I actually met through the United Space School, he's from Canada. And of course, come from Canada to Houston, Texas, that's going to cost a lot of money. So he needed a sponsor, and he was able to get one with the Hangar Flight Museum. Don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly what museum he got it from, but they had their own application process in Canada, and he served as a Western Canadian delegate. But since I'm assuming we're all from the United States, we're gonna go through that large application process. And if you guys want to get the application, email admissions@unitedspaceschool.org. So in terms of the mentors are a big part of United Space School and Global Space School. So you get to work under an intern who actually attended United Space School and Global Space School about 5 to 6 years ago. And trust me when I say they're so knowledgeable. United Space School and Global Space School has shaped their future from the first time they attended it, and they're actually pursuing aerospace engineering at the bachelor's level or the master's level. So they have a lot of technical education, technical aspects in their life. So when you start working under them, you get introduced to concepts you would not be introduced in high school. And if you're really interested in space, you're going to learn a lot more about space education, space technicality, and just the unknown parts of space that you guys wouldn't even imagine knowing at such a young age. So I would definitely recommend this Global Space School just for the mentors that will be accessible through the United Space School and Global Space School. Of course, you'll also have access to mentoring and information sessions from renowned astronauts and space scientists and space companies. So for me, during Global Space School, we actually had a speaker session with Sunita Williams. Just to clarify, she's the first female astronaut with Indian descent, and Bill MacArthur, he's also an astronaut. Michael Baker, he's also an astronaut, and Mark Hemlinger of JPL. So JPL is Jet Propulsion Laboratories. So you guys will get access to people and get to speak to people that honestly we may not get to see in our lifetime. So this is definitely one of the best opportunities I can recommend to you guys, and you get firsthand experiences of what seeing the Earth is, what seeing the Earth from space like is. So it's definitely a beauty. It's definitely a wonder. So that's probably the best part of United Space School and Global Space School. It's just the mentors and the people that you get access to. And trust me, this is an experience that I would not go back on. And in terms of the network and community of people, the people that were at Global Space School and United Space School, they were 45 plus people from 22 different nations. Of course, from year to year, it may be 20 to 25 different nations. It may be 26 nations one year, 19 nations one year. It just depends on how many sponsors there are from varying countries. But when I got to participate this past summer, there were 22 different nations. And there were only 4 people from all the United States. So again, you're meeting people not only from across all parts of the United States, but you were meeting people from across the globe. And seeing all the different perspectives that come to the United Space School is, again, just another aspect of space that's very well replicated in United Space School and Global Space School. And I actually want to introduce an example right here. If you think of the International Space Education, there's, Space Station, International Space Station. There's people from all types of nations, all types of countries at the International Space Station. And it's that diversity and those different perspectives that actually allow for enhanced research at the International Space Education. And it's these different perspectives at the United Space School with all these people coming from different countries that really allow for the spark of new ideas, spark of new innovations, and everything of that nature. So again, it's the network and community of people that makes it really different. You get to meet different cultures, different traditions from all over the world. All right. So I just wanted to give a couple of examples of what the speaker sessions look like. And before I get into this, of course, it was virtual this year because of COVID-19. But again, it was still an experience that was memorable for me, and I would recommend it to any of you. So this is Sunita Williams right here in the upper right corner. And this was a Sunita Williams speaker session. People from all over the world woke up at like 3 a.m. just to talk to her. So it was one of the most memorable experiences. I can guarantee that was the best experience of my entire Global Space School experience. And for this one, this was just a part of a video. The Relativity Space panel was showing about what relativity space is. But there was also a Relativity Space panel mentoring session, where we got to learn about 3D printing and in-space manufacturing techniques. So yeah, that was definitely one of the best parts as well. So continuing on my experience with the Foundation of International Space Education, Global Space School, I want to list the differences between Global Space School and United Space School. So of course, we were all struck with COVID-19 early March, late February. So they were actually going to cancel the program this early spring, but I was very upset. And luckily, one of the board directors came down and said, we can actually convert this into a virtual program. So Foundation of International Space Education renamed their virtual United Space School program as Global Space School. So Global Space School has a completely different project than what the United Space School does. I'll be detailing what the Global Space School research project does in the next couple of bullet points. But what United Space School does is you actually get to go to Houston, Texas, do research at a university, and you get to go to NASA and intern with them. And what you're doing is essentially building a project to Mars, what are the inefficiencies NASA experts are having with taking missions all the way to Mars. We get to research some solutions to that. Of course, we're just high schoolers. We won't get like complete solutions, but we get to see what NASA's doing to get more on track to getting to Mars within the next 5 years, within the next 10 years. So that's what United Space School is about. But Global Space School is how can we fully utilize the minerals, metals, and resources located on asteroids? That was our project. So I'll take our asteroid, my team's asteroid, for example, because that's the asteroid I know a lot about. 16 Psyche is my team's asteroid, which is what we chose for our project. But 16 Psyche has a lot of iron and nickel. And iron and nickel can become very scarce on Earth within the next couple of years. And this is some of the most important minerals in building skyscrapers and utilizing different manufacturing techniques on Earth. So it's very important that we find other resources to iron and nickel. So we were researching, is there a possibility to establish a manufacturing facility on an asteroid? And in our case, it was asteroid 16 Psyche. But before I actually go into that, Global Space School had 3 different missions. Of course, if you're going to try to get the minerals, metals, and resources on an asteroid, you need to mine them. And then you're going to need to manufacture them into useful products. And you're going to need to transport the products or the raw resources back to Earth. So my team was specifically focused on the manufacturing part of this mission. So that's up to you what you want to do. You can choose either mining, manufacturing, or transportation. My team just decided to do manufacturing. But my team's focus was to research the feasibility of actually establishing a manufacturing facility on an asteroid using in situ resource utilization, which I'll get into in just a little bit. But what our vision was is rather than using the minerals, metals, and resources on asteroids to actually supplement the resources that exist on Earth, we wanted to actually build spare rocket parts, build spare rocket engines, and utilize water from other asteroids and transport it back to 16 Psyche to convert it into rocket fuel. So our goal was to use the asteroids as layover locations. And these layover locations will allow rockets to be able to go to 16 Psyche first and then go to Mars. Go to 16 Psyche first and then go to Jupiter and then go to Neptune. So it's kind of like taking a trip to India. You can't just go to India in one flight. You need a layover location to go to India, which is what we were kind of envisioning with our project. So of course we had to choose the location of our layover, and we chose 16 Psyche because it has a lot of iron and nickel, which allows for a lot of manufacturing of spare rocket parts, spare rocket engines, and just we can essentially build an entire rocket altogether on 16 Psyche. So now you may be imagining, where would we get the fuel for the rocket? So 16 Psyche is actually very close to the dwarf planet Ceres. Ceres is either considered a dwarf planet or an asteroid. And Ceres has a lot of water. So if we were able to transport the water from Ceres to 16 Psyche, we would be able to get a lot of rocket fuel. So that's what our project was. How feasible is it for this to happen? So we use Minor Planet Center AstRank API. We use search queries with SQL, and we use the JPL Horizons database to finalize our asteroid, which was 16 Psyche. And apart from that, we needed to research in-space manufacturing techniques. How were we actually going to build the rocket parts using the iron nickel on the asteroid? We were going to need to 3D print some sort, utilize the iron and nickel strands and 3D print with it, use additive manufacturing techniques. And again, we needed to realize how feasible is it to do this on in a microgravity environment, because 16 Psyche only has a gravitational acceleration of about 0.001 meters per second squared, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that as well. But we needed to research the feasibility of this. Coming to my interest and the reason why I applied to United Space School in the first place, to power a manufacturing facility on an asteroid, you're going to need some energy. So we used a nuclear reactor. We used a small modular nuclear reactor, which is actually in development for small habitats in NASA on the moon. So we researched the feasibility of establishing such structures on asteroid 16 Psyche. And again, our entire project was researching the feasibility of how all of this is possible. And again, like I said, we have access to mentors from relativity space. We have access to mentors like Sunita Williams, Bill MacArthur. So again, this was not just, you're not expected to come in with this knowledge. You're going to gain a lot of knowledge as you go through this process. And construction of manufacturing facility. This is going to be done using in situ resource utilization, which is using the loose rubble on the asteroid and converting it to a structure that is able to hold manufacturing equipment and hold manufacturing facility with that is capable of producing entire rocket spare parts, and entire rocket structures. So that's, again, how feasible is it to do that? And we, of course, needed to abide by space law and supporting a crew on an asteroid. So one thing with this mission is, of course, this can all be automated with AI and other technology, modern technology. But with the requirements of Global Space School, they required us to have some sort of crew aspect in this mission. So we had a crew monitoring the manufacturing facility on the asteroid. So how were we going to support the crew? What health systems did they need in place? What oxygen levels were they going to need to be able to survive? We needed to do a bunch of research on that as well. So after we did all this, we were actually able to pitch our final project. Is it actually feasible? Of course, we concluded that it is feasible in approximately 2050 to 2060 as technology continues to develop and we have the resources to actually establish a manufacturing facility on 16 Psyche. So we did determine that it was feasible. We actually built a model of what our manufacturing facility would look like on 16 Psyche using Blender. So we were able to present that to the Foundation of International Space Education board members. And we were essentially competing with the other teams from the entire Global Space School cohort. We were able to collaborate with the other teams. So it wasn't just a competition. Don't think of it that way. But we were declared the top contract. We were awarded a $1.5 billion contract. Of course, that's not real money, but that was their way of distinguishing teams from each other with the dollar amount that they got. So we were awarded a $1.5 billion contract for our pitch and the Global Space School research project that we were able to implement. But yeah, this was my technical experience in Foundation of International Space Education Global Space School. I didn't go into too much detail because I didn't want to overburden you guys with all the information. But if you go to the next slide, Shweta. You can watch our final pitch on YouTube right here. Again, these links will be posted on the YouTube link that Shweta sends out. And we were able to graduate with the top contract as mentioned earlier. So you can watch all the videos of what happened right here through these YouTube videos. But yeah, continuing on. So my biggest takeaways, right? Like I said, the reason I did space school in the first place, there's a wide ranging of applications in space. And I can actually confidently say space is this one big industry that is meant for a big collaboration of minds. It's collaboration from people all the way ranging from business to even law with space law and chemical engineering, which is where I come in. There's a wide ranging applications of space. There's always going to be a place for each one of us in the space industry in the future. So that was definitely one of my biggest takeaways. So change in perspective. I actually wouldn't say I was a space person in the beginning, but I can actually say I'm a space person now. I love to keep up with space news. I love to keep up with relativity space, made in space, what JPL is doing, what NASA is doing, what SpaceX is doing. So it's definitely a good experience. In the future, it actually shaped my future career goal. I want to become a propulsion engineer at either SpaceX, JPL, or NASA. So we'll see where that ends up. But I can confidently say I'm a quote unquote space nerd, but it's definitely very fun. And and the biggest part of Global Space School, there's a new network of people you will not get access to outside of really space school, because you're meeting people from 22 different nations, and you really won't get that opportunity as a high schooler. And again, that's probably the best part. I'm still in touch with many of my team members. I'm still in touch with many of the other teams that we quote unquote competed against. And it was we still have a lot of fun. We call almost every weekend, every other weekend. We have a Facebook chat, and if we ever have any questions about space, there will always be a person that has an answer for you in that group chat. So this new network, new collaboration, networking skills, and communication skills, these are all things you'll gain outside of coming out of space school. And again, this furthered my passions for chemical engineering and entrepreneurship. And uh, aside from becoming a propulsion engineer in the future, I hope to have my own startup relating to alternative energy. And seeing the work I was able to do with alternative energy through Global Space School has definitely been something I'll take away into the future. But yeah, these were definitely some of the biggest takeaways. So yeah, that was my presentation, guys. So if you guys have any questions, you guys can just put them in the chat, or however Shweta wants to do it.
Awesome. So I'll ask you a few questions we got earlier to start. If anybody has a question, feel free to say it out loud, leave it in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. The first question I have for you is, what grade do you have to be in order to participate in the United Space School?
There's no grade. So you need to be either fifth, you need to be in the age group from 15 to 19 years old. That's it.
Awesome. So next question, how competitive is the application process?
I would say the application process is pretty competitive. I actually had no hopes of getting in. There's only 4 people from the entire United States. Again, that number varies from 4 to 7, 8 people from the entire United States that do participate in the program. But there's no hurt in shooting your shot, giving your luck. So again, it's just emailing admissions@unitedspaceschool.org for the application.
The final question I have for you is, what was the hardest aspect of your research project?
So the hardest aspect of the research project, so there's quite a bit of unknowns. Asteroid 16 Psyche, the asteroid we decided to explore, has been largely unexplored. NASA is actually sending out a mission in 2022 to explore 16 Psyche, but currently it's when I participated in the project, it was 2020, and we didn't have access to any information of what 16 Psyche looked like. So we had to generate some computer-based models on what 16 Psyche looked like compared to every other asteroid in the asteroid belt and other asteroids in our solar system. So of course, there's a little bits of research that some small space companies did, but we had to get access to that information with their network with NASA engineers. But trying to analyze that information without any space knowledge was the hard part. And of course, this was a virtual experience, which makes it even harder to collaborate with people. And there were quite a few challenges, but those are the biggest 2 challenges for me. But those were the 2 challenges that allowed me to grow as a person as well. So I wouldn't say it was bad or anything.
Well, there looks like there's no more questions in the chat. So thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, Shweta. It was really nice being here today. Thank you for having me.